Dune is an intergalactic tale of epic proportions spanning 34,000 years and thousands of planets, but in this video, we will take a look at the top 10 most powerful military forces in the Dune universe, and we will rank them from the weakest to the strongest of them all. So, without further ado, let's dive in with number 10. The Landsraad Coalition Army was a collection of forces representing the great houses in the early days of the Carino Empire. While we don't know much about the fighting capabilities of the Landsraad Coalition, their greatest threat was the mighty Sardaukar army, which we will take a look at later in this video. In the time before the Butlerian Jihad, it was well accepted that if the great houses joined forces, their military strength could rival that of the Sardaukar, making the Landsraad a truly formidable force. However, with House Atreides' rise to the Imperial throne, many of the great houses lost their power, bringing an end to the Landsraad Coalition's glory days. At number 9, among Dune's most powerful militaries, we have the Harkonnen army, led by Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. House Harkonnen is one of the major houses and originated from the industrial planet of Gedi Prime. This army is known for its brutality and absolute disregard for ethics. Even within their own legions, the Harkonnen soldiers resort to trickery, deceit, and even assassination to rise through the ranks. This immoral violence, together with Baron Harkonnen's tactical genius, made the Harkonnen army a force to be reckoned with. Their greatest achievement was the Siege of Arrakeen in 10,191 AG, when Harkonnen troops took control of the planet Arrakis. Through this invasion, the Harkonnens nearly annihilated their arch-nemesis House Atreides, while also seizing control of the Spice Melange. In the battle on Arrakis, we see the true extent of Harkonnen treachery, as they take Dr. Yue's wife hostage and torture her, forcing him to betray House Atreides. Despite being a disgusting tactic, this move was instrumental in Baron Harkonnen's victory. However, a force to rival the Harkonnen would emerge soon afterwards from the planet Arrakis itself. At number 8, we have the Fremen army led by Paul Atreides that overthrew Baron Harkonnen. The Fremen are the natives of planet Arrakis and were oppressed for many years under Imperial forces that harvested the spice on their planet. Living in the unforgiving deserts of Arrakis forced the Fremen to be extremely resilient in order to survive. Additionally, their skirmishes and guerrilla battles with the Harkonnen made them experts in hand-to-hand combat. But all of this pales in comparison to the fact that Fremen also figured out how to ride sandworms. The only thing they lacked to become a proper military was a general to lead them into battle. Under Paul's leadership, the Fremen became an unstoppable force, rampaging through the Empire in Muad'Dib's jihad and bending the Imperium to their will in just 12 years. We'll take a look at the Paul Atreides elite military units later on in this video, but at number 7, we have a more unconventional military, the Bene Tleilaxu Face Dancers. The Dune universe can get pretty weird at times, and the Tleilaxu are a great example of that. They are a group of genetically modified humans that live on the planet Tleilax. The Tleilaxu are generally looked down upon by the entire universe because of their horrible practices, such as forcing women into being axolotl tanks. However, their genetic engineering expertise makes it impossible for other races to cut ties with the Tleilaxu. The Face Dancers were the warrior class of the Bene Tleilaxu and had the ability to perfectly copy any being's appearance and personality. Given this ability, most Face Dancers operated in the shadows as spies and assassins instead of fighting like regular soldiers. What made the Face Dancers so ridiculously overpowered was the Gula technology developed by the Bene Tleilaxu. As we saw when Scytale was killed by Paul Atreides, Face Dancers can effectively be brought back to life using Gulas. While they had a wide range of special abilities, the Bene Tleilaxu lacked military might. So, for many years during the God Emperor's rule, they tried to form a partnership with number 6 on our ranking list, the Bene Gesserit. The Bene Gesserit are the first of 3 all-female military forces we'll be taking a look at in this video. Also known as the Sisterhood, the Bene Gesserit were a religious order based on a planet they called Chapter House. What makes the Bene Gesserit so special is the wide range of abilities they possess. The Prana Bindu training they undergo allows a Bene Gesserit to control every nerve and muscle in her body. They also have complete control over their organic chemistry, making the Bene Gesserit immune to poisons and capable of slowing down aging. The hand-to-hand combat style of Bene Gesserit was known as the Weirding Way, and very few could rival it. One of those foes was the Imperial Sardaukar, who we rank as the 5th most powerful military in the Dune universe. The Sardaukar are basically the elite fighting force of the Padishah Emperor. They are so widely feared and renowned that basically every fighting unit's goal became to match the power of the Sardaukar. There was no magic or mystery behind the strength of the Sardaukar. Just like the Fremen, they grew up in an unforgiving environment where nearly half the Sardaukar died before reaching the age of 11. Those who survived went through intense swordsmanship and espionage training, giving them the cunning of a Bene Gesserit and the technical skill to rival a Fremen warrior. At the peak of their powers, one Sardaukar was said to be as valuable in battle as 10 Landsred soldiers. But the units at number 4 on our list, the Ginaz swordmasters, were considered to be even more valuable than the Sardaukar. Many warriors from across the universe traveled to the Ginaz school to learn swordsmanship. Among them, only the most skilled warriors received the title of swordmaster. The order of the Ginaz swordmasters likely began with Nul Juret, the hero of the Butlerian Jihad. Since then, swordmasters have been influential in every empire in the Dune universe. Duncan Idaho was so valuable to the God Emperor, and later the Bene Gesserit, that he was reborn for over 5,000 years through Gulas. And this brings us to the 3rd most powerful military in the Dune universe, the Fedaykin. These soldiers were Paul Muad'Dib Atreides' elite guerrilla fighting force and proved their mettle many times over on the battlefield. Also known as the Death Commandos, the Fedaykin were so dominant in battle that even the Sardaukar were no match for them. This is because, unlike most other military units, the Fedaykin went to war for an ideology. While other soldiers were driven by cruelty or greed, the Fedaykin fought for their faith in Paul Muad'Dib. They served him first in his victory over House Carino and then the Harkonnen army, and then joined in the Second Jihad. However, this strength would later prove to be the weakness of the Fedaykin as they became disenchanted with the Muad'Dib following the Second Jihad. Unable to return to their old lives, the mighty Fedaykin eventually disbanded, leaving behind a legacy that lasted no longer than 50 years. As the throne transferred from Paul Atreides to his son Leto Atreides II, the balance of military power shifted as well. The downfall of the Fedaykin forced the God Emperor to create a new elite force. The Fish Speakers are the 2nd most powerful military in the long history of the Dune universe. Leto Atreides II created them by harnessing over 3,000 years of genetic selection, ensuring that these were the most naturally gifted warriors the world had ever seen. Interestingly, the Fish Speakers were an all-female army, as the God Emperor believed that male armies were predatory and would turn on civilians in times of peace. They were trained in a wide range of combat weapons such as knives, clubs, whips, and blades. Additionally, some units specialized in heavy weaponry like lasguns and grenades. The Fish Speakers even had the option of supporting their infantry with divisions operating guard ships, ornithopters, and ground cars. Since they occupied every level of the God Emperor's administration, many Fish Speakers were also occupied as spies and assassins. However, what really sets the Fish Speakers apart from all other militaries we've seen so far is their longevity. For over 3 millennia, they were the most effective military force the world had ever known. And this brings us to the number 1 most powerful military in the Dune universe, the Honored Matres. This all-female force was made up of Bene Gesserit members who were sent out to colonize uncharted space during the Shattering, and Fish Speakers deployed there during Emperor Leto II's reign. Following the Scattering, these explorers lost contact with Bene Gesserit in the Old Empire. Their experiences in outer space led to a cultural transformation, and the Honored Matres began developing their own political ambitions. Shortly after returning to the Old Imperium, the Honored Matres attacked the Bene Gesserit, starting the War of Sisterhood. But what was the big difference between the Honored Matres and the Bene Gesserit? One key point was their approach to power and control. While the Bene Gesserit preferred to use subtlety and deception, the Honored Matres were more aggressive and aimed to either destroy or enslave the power brokers who opposed them. The most effective tool that the Honored Matres used was a form of sexual enslavement, where a practitioner could completely control a male just by having intercourse with him. What made the Honored Matres even more fearsome was their use of the weapon. Their use of this deadly device to wipe out the entire planet of Arrakis shows us that the Honored Matres are not a force you want to mess with. And that brings us to the end of our most powerful military forces in the Dune universe. Do you agree with our rankings? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. Thanks and see ya. Bye!